Good morning. Thanks for the support. Robert Borg recently joined the channel on YouTube. Thank you very much. This is a fan funded channel. I am very dependent on people joining the channel on YouTube or via Patreon. I started out on Patreon and then I added the YouTube membership option because people asked for it. They said, I don't trust Patreon. I think they're going to steal all my money and beat me up. So I added the YouTube membership option, which gives people access to our Discord as well. But the Patreon does get extra stuff. So when I post kind of game design lecture videos on Patreon, I post a version of the video so you can watch it without ads, and I post the slides as well. There's a monthly newsletter on there as well, which is free. So if you subscribe to Patreon for free, like the free tier, then you get the monthly newsletter, which is just me kind of pondering about what the hell I'm trying to do with this channel. So later today, I will be putting the June one out. Thanks to everyone who's already subscribed. Really appreciate that. But thanks as well to Robert Borg, who just joined via YouTube membership. I appreciate you as well. I can't do everything for YouTube members that I can do through Patreon, and that's just because Patreon is a better platform for doing stuff. It gives kind of more control over the tiers and what you can do with the different tiers and stuff. But I'm really glad that people choose to support in whatever way they can. And if you can't support financially, then just watching my stuff and sharing it with people and stuff like that is really helpful. I am not above searching for myself on the internet because I'm a neurotic human being, just like the rest of us. So I do occasionally have a look on Reddit and see if anyone is sharing stuff, and it's always nice to see when I'm popping up as an example of a good YouTube channel about game design. So thank you for everyone who has just kind of shared stuff. Word of mouth is really powerful, and I appreciate it. In streaming updates, those of you who have been paying ultra close attention will know that I've been at war with my own taskbar over the past couple of months. I finally resolved it by just cropping it out on this window. Because you tell the taskbar you want it to hide, and then what does it do? It sort of hides and then appears at awkward times and covers the bottom part of your interface. At the moment, it covers my editing interface on DaVinci. But this will do. This will do now. And today we are looking at spooky, mysterious games, and all of the games I picked for today, there were actually 4, but one of them, the developer said to maybe look at another time because it's kind of they hit a point where they needed to just kind of rebuild, and the game that they're making is in such a different state from the thing they were making that they kind of don't want to show it, which is fair enough. And so we've got 3 games, which means in the 2-hour stream I can spend a little bit longer in each game. And they are all kind of spooky, mysterious games that are horrors, but they seem to not just be doing the kind of jump scare horror thing. They all have an interesting tie to like a kind of world building that is perhaps a bit more the real world. Sorry. So yeah, I've sort of struggled to come up with a title for this theme. We've got Don't Eat Squid Babies, which is a kind of nautical horror. Thanks, Kana. And kind of looks a bit Lovecraftian, looks a bit Sunless Sea. Interesting to see the direction this one goes in. We've got Canterbury Sales, which is an art dealing game, but it said it has kind of Goya inspiration in terms of like the art and the paintings that you're selling. So I put this in the same category of like it's something set in what seems like a real historical period, and it's got something kind of creepy about it. We'll see. Maybe it's not that creepy, but it looked like a compelling idea. This was kind of a short jam game. And then Beacon's Edge, which I think is a kind of incremental game with a bit of kind of with a bit of a mysterious story. So I'm going to check out Beacon's Edge first, I think. Let me just do that. Cool. Bring that over there. Okay. Godot, don't fail us now. Oh, it's in a tiny little window. That's cute. Let me just switch to game capture for this then. There we go. And then, even though it's tiny on my screen, it doesn't have to be tiny on yours. So let's see what the developer says about this one before we get started. It is... You're by yourself now. The storm is too harsh for relief, and you've lost power. Crank to keep the light on or succumb to the darkness. So I don't know if anyone remembers a game called Crank. But it was sort of a text-based browser game. And it was one of the first of these waves of incremental games where it was, you know, a game of numbers, make number go up, sit and wait for idle game mechanics to tick along and stuff. But it had this whole kind of mystery that opened up. I didn't play Crank for very long, but I sort of remember it as being one of these historic games in that genre of idle or incremental games that had an interesting emergent narrative that happened as you played the game. And A Dark Room was another one. So this feels like it's maybe going to be influenced by Crank, but with a more visual element to it. So we are going to scavenge for mysterious crafting materials to improve your crank. It is really important to improve your crank. You've got to keep up with the times when it comes to crank technology. Trade with the merchant ship to improve your resources. Perform seances and train scavengers. Automate tasks and idle. Discover an unfolding story and mystery. Prestige. Start the game over with improvements. So this feels relatively well thought out. We've got a kind of long-term plan for why you would want to play this game more than once, which is nice. 3 acts with a satisfying conclusion. I'll be the judge of that, although I probably won't in 40 minutes. Enjoy a spooky ASMR-like atmosphere and experience. This is good marketing copy. This is a good kind of feature set. I get a very good idea of what the game's going to be. And the way it's presented in this order kind of creates a nice hook. Because we got scavenge for materials. Okay, scavenging for materials to improve something. I do that in every game. I know it's something I like, but it's not enough to be a hook, right? It's just a kind of basic feature. Trading with a merchant ship. Yeah, that's the normal thing. Performing seances. So we hit the third point, and we've gone from 2 features where I'm like, yeah, I like that feature. I like scavenging and trading. But there are so many games that I can play that have scavenging and trading, and then we hit the third one, and it gives you a huh. And that's really good ordering, I think, of the features of this game. So let's jump over to the game and see what we think. Just going to slide myself back in a little bit. Hi, Lowell's in the chat. You've got the #1 crown today. I don't know, can you see that from your end? Does it show the leaderboard crown for you as well? So Deca Knives asked a genre question. I'll come back to that in a minute, Deca, when we get a... Let's kind of absorb the beginning of the game, and then I will answer your question, because I think it's a good question. Sort of general question of suitability for indies of particular genres. I can scavenge. Just trying to make it a little bit bigger for myself because it's quite... Just checking it's not playing twice because I can hear the sound effects twice. Okay, I can scavenge. That's happening now. I'm scavenging. Am I supposed to be manually cranking the crank, or is that happening on its own? Is that... So we've got a spooky wake up. Is that supposed to be the end of a day, or are we stuck in a loop here? I think I'm hitting a fail state. I think that's why it's telling me to wake up and stuff. Ah, I see. Gotcha. I just click on it. Okay, I was clicking on it and then moving my hand around. And I didn't need to do that. I just needed to click on it. Okay, so the when it makes the John Carpenter synth sound as someone starts saying wake up, it's basically telling me that's a fail state. Okay. It's hard to tell when the atmosphere of a game is kind of creepy already. It's hard to tell when something is that subtle because it feels quite subtle. Okay, I'm cranking. I'm scavenging. When I scavenge, I can't crank. That's already a nice dynamic. So I scavenge. And then, can I scavenge twice in one crank? That's my kind of question as a player. I'm going to get it filled all the way up, and then I'm going to try and do 2 scavengers in one crank. That's my first little thing that I immediately want to work out if I can do. Okay, so if I scavenge twice in one crank, I have a tiny... Yeah, I get down to like 4, so... Scavenging twice in one crank is reasonably a comfortable thing that we can achieve. Yeah, I think moving the mouse, having to turn this would give me carpal tunnel, probably. It might feel good with a joystick. Time to improve the battery. Is that increases the maximum thing of this? Yeah, okay, cool. So now, can we scavenge 3 times in a single crank? That's what I want to know. It's interesting how the kind of efficiency game in these games becomes not just about, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. We were saved then by the fact that the game let it run down to -1. So there was a tiny bug, but it was the kind of bug that I approve of because it lets me win. Brainoid brought their own knife. Excellent. We actually call them scalpels in a surgical context. But I appreciate your enthusiasm. Madding a flywheel, is that an automation thing? Improves the momentum. Okay. So it kind of, each click spins it further. This is great in terms of like the set of upgrades that you get and how they kind of mechanically relate to the cranking that is happening. It all kind of makes a lot of thematic sense and is very clear. The thing I would want, I think if you were going to kind of continue developing this, I'd want to see that these icons are represented here. So when I buy something, when I improve my battery, it's very clear which of the icons at the top it relates to. Because kind of having to do the tooltip, work out which is which, how these icons relate to the words is a little bit frustrating. And that's really what icons are for, so you can represent something quickly in multiple areas of the game. So if you have them, and then you use a word somewhere else, I know where we do it, you know, as someone who's built games before. It's like the amount of work to get an icon to appear within a string of text is a pain. And I guess the middle ground is you have the icon there, and then you have the text, and it's like a battery icon, and then it says improve battery, rather than trying to do improve symbol of battery by blah blah blah, which is a pain technically to do, because you have to have a text and split it, and then work out where the icon will go within that text. And this is the kind of stuff that is really, really boring, both to do and to talk about, but makes a lot of difference in terms of like UX and people understanding a game. I'm trying to imagine that Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe are in there. Oh, I think my crank is starting to break, because it's not improving. So I'm gonna try and improve it. That's really interesting, because you're doing one action, right? You're cranking the crank. And that means you become very sensitive to how efficient the crank is. And when the crank starts to become efficient or break down in some way, you really, really feel it, because it's the only thing you're doing, right? It's kind of the opposite of if a game has loads and loads of different mechanics and systems and mini-games, and you have a mini-game that you don't play for half an hour, and then you play it again, you're not going to be as sensitive to like how that feels, if it changes, if it increases in difficulty, if it changes in whatever way. But because you're just cranking, you become really, really attuned to it. And that gives you a really good uh-oh moment when it starts to not work. Like I just had a moment ago, I was clicking and it's like, why is it hovering around 10? Merchant ship. Yeah, this feels pretty impenetrable. I'm also worried as to whether my crank bar is going down or if it's paused properly on this menu. Okay, I can see what these things are. Spectral residue. Nice. Ghost stuff. Mushrooms. And yeah, when we're on the ship menu, I would just pause the rain animation to make it clear that our crank isn't like secretly going down in the background. And improve the crank. Need like a little sort of Warcraft 3 hammering and sawing loop of noise when the grey bar is visible as well. That would be cool. Drilling and hammering and sawing. You could just have like a loop of that. There's got to be a construction noise loop on Free Sound Project, and you just have it always there, and then whenever the grey bar is visible, you fade it in. And then it just gives you an impression that there's kind of life going on in there, you know? So I had to cancel that improvement task because I had misjudged the timing. I guess these kind of randomly come up, right? These improvements. If you cancel them, though, they don't come back, which is fine. I'm kind of just stating the rules out loud as I learn them. That's not necessarily a problem. I'm just need to sort of understand what's going on. I'm going to train a fledgling to do some auto scavenging. This is going to be tight. Come on, please. Yeah, good. Right, what can I buy? Is that what these are? Are these fledglings? A small scavenger. Yeah, okay. I want that. See. Okay. So the fledglings are like ghosts and stuff that help you auto scavenge. I just trained one a minute ago and I didn't get it up here, I don't think. I need to just learn what these things are. Battery, improved capacity. That's gear, improves crank. Oil improves crank. Pulley increases the momentum of the crank. Fledglings auto scavenge. Mushrooms are powerful and potent, naturally. They don't feel like a very nautical resource, though. Spectral residue. It's just ghost mess. And this one, it doesn't tell me what it is. Why don't I feel hungry or tired? I don't know, buddy. It's probably because of Willem Dafoe's lobster. I don't know what he puts in it. Look at that. That's a powerful crank we got there now. I'll turn the audio down a little bit. Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit to... This is 15 of these things to get one of these. Not quite sure what's happening in this shop. I'm guessing I'm trying to get these from the shop because... Oh no, maybe it's the other way around because the merchant wouldn't have ghosts and stuff, right? So the merchant gives me big bulk buys of these, but I have to sacrifice these things for it. Because these are the things that only I can generate. Ghost stuff. I think that's kind of how it's intended to work. It's not super clear though. It's also sometimes not... Oh. It's not always clear where these items are. Because just then I got add flywheel, right? And I added it, and then it says 0 flywheel up here. And it's because the flywheel is coming from here, this general inventory, and going into the crank as an upgrade. And that's a little bit confusing, I think. I think it would be good to see kind of your general inventory... And then maybe the crank has like a smaller version of this where it says like how many flywheel upgrades it has and how many battery upgrades it has. Because yeah, I've got 4 batteries. I've got 5 batteries there now from scavenging. And if I press this, that's going to go down from 5 to 4 because the battery has improved down here, I think. Yeah, so it's like that has gone into there. It's taken me a while to kind of work that out. And there's a bunch of ways of achieving that. It could be like, when you do improved battery, this kind of goes boop. Boop. It goes down there, so it's just clearer what's happening. Gone. So based on which of these items you have in your inventory, it will determine what tasks you get to improve the crank. And then it eats up these items and kind of puts them in the crank and makes the crank better. And then at some point you get the option to do things like training your fledglings, who are your scavengers, that are your automation type stuff. Okay. Yeah, that's the way that the shop works. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do the seance. Oh, I'll do the seance rather than the flywheel. I'll try and focus on doing the things that we haven't done from the list. So this is saying you use these to make this. 15 of any of these, I guess that is, to make one of those. I can't tell if it's 15 of one of these things or 15 combined, which would be hard to work out which ones it's using if you had loads. Yeah, I can't... Oh no, hang on. I had crystals, I probably could have used those. Is the seance going to complete in time? This is quite tense. Just when you've got the two bars heading in different directions and you're kind of playing chicken with it, of like, am I going to have to quit the task before it's finished? Because your crank has a numerical value but the other one doesn't. And that's good. I think that's actually good. That's what's creating this tension for me. There we go. There we go. It's cranking itself because of the seance. But we don't get any ghostly residue from the seance. Okay, I crank it and it just kind of stays on for a little while now. That's cool. I wonder how long the seance lasts. These waves are cute. I appreciate when a spooky ghost helps me with my daily tasks. Very considerate of them. You get loads of scavenging done when you've got a ghost helping you out. Okay, can I get that one? Okay, so I can afford these ones. So I get a ghost guy. And then they're greyed out if I can't afford them, and they're pressable if I can. Okay, so I've got a fledgling now. So we're going to do some auto scavenging. And I can train another fledgling, which seems like a good idea. Oh no, I can't train another. So that's the fledgling again. That's going from my inventory into being active. Yeah, it's just not always clear. You just need a way for the inventory items, when you activate them using these tasks, for them to move down here or sort of become visible down here somehow. You know, it could be that the fledglings are flying around when they're activated, and like all of the upgrades for the crank are sort of sat underneath it somehow, or... Because I managed to grasp the fact that doing an improved battery is moving a battery from up here to down here, but then as soon as I trained a fledgling, I thought that was... I thought the fledgling was already active after I bought them, and training them would give me another one, but actually it was just going to bring that one up from up there down to here. And that means that earlier when I did train a fledgling, I think I finished that task. I've already got one active, but I have no way of remembering how many of these are doing something down here. And then there's... If I've got more than one, they're passively doing this stuff for me, and that's good. But I think in order for this kind of game to be satisfying, you need to see the thing work. You need to see the thing that you put into action kind of still there. And with these guys, if they're themed as ghosts, it could just be like every fledgling you add is sort of hovering around, going... Blah, 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 blah. And then we got the prestige loop. Oh. Oh, I see. So you've got a prestige option, but in order to actually accept it, you need to be able to do quite a long task. So it shows you what you need to do to prestige, but you can't really do it immediately because you need to upgrade enough to have 4 minutes worth, 4 minutes worth of battery. The little ghosty pirate ship over there. Oh, that was the merchant. Right, we're going to move on from this one in 5. It's really neat. It's got a very nice, chilled out atmosphere. I'm a big fan of atmosphere as a general thing in games. It's more important than story. I would say, you know, like gameplay and atmosphere, top, because they're experiential. Story, good if you can do it, but story without atmosphere, don't care. No, my hand is not... The cranking isn't too... Because the way that you automate it and it gets more powerful, it doesn't become like a annoying, arduous task to do that. But I do need to move on to the next game. Because we've only got 3 today, which means I can spend a bit longer. But 40 per game is as much as I can do today, I think. So, this month's Game Developers Library podcast, I'm rereading Raf Costa's Theory of Fun for Game Design. And it's an interesting book. It's going to be difficult for me to talk about it without just moaning all the way through. So I think when I come to record that podcast, I'm going to talk about what's good about it, and then and then do a critique at the end. But he has a really limited idea of what fun is. And stuff like story and atmosphere just don't fit into it. And he articulates why very well. But I just think it's very unhelpful. And I'm trying to work out what bugs me about that model. It's kind of basically fun is just learning how to do a new thing. And that kind of engagement that you have with a game when you're puzzling it out and trying to think it through. And I don't think I disagree with that idea of what fun is. But I don't think being dismissive of stuff like atmosphere and story or moments of surprise in games, because all of those things are things that he sort of dismisses as like, games are not about this. And it's like, well, you can say that fun is not about this if you want to strictly define fun as being learning a new skill. But what makes games work includes all those other things. And I think games like this are a really good example of you want to have an atmosphere and a mood that works well with what the player is doing as an activity. And the sort of ASMR type thing of the rain and the piano, the slightly spooky but not horrifying, all of that works really, really well with a idle game, with an incremental game. Your fun is wrong, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That book is presented as being a theory of fun. And, like, what is a theory? It's like a model of how something works, you know? And in Costa's model, fun is just this kind of bioessentialist psychological trick that we have wired into our minds to make us sort of progress as a species and stuff like that. And I don't think he's wrong, but I also think that if you limit your idea of why people play games to that, you're going to end up with a very, very narrow view of both humanity and games. But, you know, he was already a veteran game designer before he made that book. And perhaps one of the things that's different about being a game designer working in a big studio, in a AAA studio or something like that, or a free-to-play studio, versus being an indie developer, is as an indie developer, you have to be all the things, right? You're kind of, well, a solo indie developer or in a small team. Even if you're in a team of 2 or 3, you probably have to do like 5 of the roles that would exist in a bigger studio. And that means that, yes, you should care about pure abstract game design, but you probably also care about art direction and storytelling and ambience and stuff like that all at the same time, because you can't just outsource those to someone else on the team, which is what you can do in larger game studios. So it kind of makes sense that a game designer coming from that background would have this more narrow idea of what games and fun are, whereas someone who has to handle more parts of the game themselves is likely to have a more encompassing view of like what makes people enjoy games, you know. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Really like this. Very, very sweet. There are a couple of kind of communication problems in this game that I think would be relatively easy to solve, but it all just comes down to what you want to do with it, really. You know, iconography here to make it clear how these relate to these. Some sense of these resources being in a kind of inventory and then coming down here when they're put into play by these. Some visual sense of what the upgrades are that are happening here, even if it's just like even if it's just some sort of pop up here, or having our little ghost friends hover around looking like they're working. But yeah, I really like that. Let's take a look at Don't Eat Squid Babies. I don't know how scary this is going to be. Let's have a look. A strategic survival horror about despair, greed, and insignificance before the unknown. How lovely. Just get that extracted. And switch our window capture back so that you can see what I'm doing. We go. Your crew is just a handful of mortals in a vast ocean that whispers in unknown languages and drives people insane. The fish are fewer and farther between, the storms are fiercer, fatigue is commonplace. One day the crew finds the legendary ghost squid. Their flesh temporarily fulfills wishes, but the more you take, the deeper you sink into madness. Now, the sailors are heading to the very heart of this nightmare, the mother of Squid. She can fulfill their deepest dreams forever, or take it all away. The crew hopes to get rich, and only the captain stays up at night, perhaps because he's drawn to the ocean, perhaps he's afraid the truth will come to the surface. Lovely. Yes, Decker Knives. Let me answer your question quickly. So, Decker Knives was asking about third-person action games. Let's just get some visuals up. Right. Decker asked right at the start of this chat, slightly off topic, what are your thoughts on the third-person shooter genre for indies in terms of market opportunities given how rare they are? Right. So, first off, I generally, I'm a designer, I'm not a marketer. And marketers will always lead with the market and say, hey, people love this kind of game. Or there's not many of this kind of game. Maybe you should make one of those. As someone with a design background and who's worked with lots of different teams, I generally think developers have skill sets that they sort of are naturally inclined towards. And that means that the game that you should make is the one that is best suited to your skill set, because that is going to end you up with a game of a higher quality, right? Like, if you'd spent the last 10 years writing fiction and writing in prose, then the best game you could make would be a visual novel or interactive fiction of some sort, regardless of what the market wants, because you would be putting those 10 years of experience into making a game that has the best chance of being a high quality game because you already have the skills required, right? Now, when it comes to a third-person shooter game, the thing about third-person games is you have to be incredibly good at character animation. I'm working with someone at the moment who is like is in my kind of mentorship at the moment, and she is making a third-person game, and the amount of iteration you have to do to get everything to feel smooth is very, very difficult. And it's not just like animating the individual states of the thing, like getting the character to run along, getting them to jump. No, it's like the transitionary stuff. So, example is jumping from something onto a climbing wall. How do you get that movement between those two states, right? Your character is a finite state machine. They have states like running, taking cover, climbing, and they can only be in one state at a time. But anyone who has played a sort of AAA third-person game is going to have all these expectations about the fluidity of movement and stuff. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but my general approach is if there's a game of a particular quality in a genre, that should be your target, right? So, if someone is selling a indie third-person action game for $10 or something like that, and you look at that and it's really, really smooth, and all of these kind of different animations transition really well, and you probably couldn't even tell it's an indie game, then that should be your ambition for what you make. Because at the end of the day, people who are on Steam buying games, they don't sympathy buy things based on how many developers worked on the game or what the budget was, right? They look at the game, they look at the quality of the game, they look at whether it appeals to them, and they look at the price point. And if you try and put out a $10 game that looks like it provides 5% of the value of another $10 game in terms of the quality, in terms of the amount of levels, whatever the thing is, the amount of features, how polished it is, then they will pick the other game, right? And that's the thing you always have to have in mind. So if you want to go down the route of having a game with like lots of animated characters in, doing fluid movement, doing kind of combat and stuff like that, that's fine. But I would say do a skills audit of yourself and whoever you're working with. And a skills audit is really just like, it's like writing a CV, but it's not based on where you've worked. It's based on like other projects you've done. What do you know you can do? What have you proven to yourself that you can do? And this is why it's hard to answer questions like this without the context of like who's asking. Because if you said to me, I've got a team of 5 people, one of them is an animator, one of them is a level designer, one of them is a programmer with a background in making action games, then of course I would say, yeah, you are totally set up to make the type of game you're describing. If you're a solo developer and you say you want to make a third-person shooter or any kind of third-person action game, then I would say, what is your background? Because if your background is in animation, then yes, you probably have a very good chance of doing that and pulling it off. If you are fundamentally a programmer and you don't have much of a background in animation, the learning curve for doing that and doing it to a very high quality is going to be very high. So this kind of ties into a broader kind of meta question about why are you making games in the first place, right? And you know, I think people should make whatever game they want to make, but you should be honest with yourself about what that game is for. And if you're trying to make a third-person shooter and you have no background in animation, or you don't have someone to work with who has a background in animation, then that is probably not a commercial product. That is a hobby project for you to learn that stuff, right? So, you know, same for me. I have a background in certain things. I've made lots of interactive fiction. I've made lots of things that do weird generative stuff. Like, you know, I made a game once where you were mixing potions and all the ingredients were generated at the beginning of the game and you had to work out what each one did based on its name and experimenting and stuff like that. I have a background in certain things, and that means if I were to start a game now, if that game used all of the things that I know I have an established skill set in, then I would think, okay, this game has a good chance to be like a commercially viable game because it's me working to my strengths. Whereas if I started a game that used a bunch of stuff that I don't know how to do, like I generally don't know how to do 3D development. I've done a bunch of level design in 3D engines. I've worked on like commercial Fortnite maps and Roblox maps where I was sort of lead designer on that project, and we had various people doing level design together and I contributed to the level design. I can block stuff out in 3D. I can't really like program movement in 3D or do certain types of features that require me to understand how Unity or Unreal handle 3D at a code level, right? So that's the type of project where if I said, oh, I'm going to make a 3D action game, I would first sort of set out with that as a hobby project in mind to say, I am doing this to learn a thing, right? And that's why starting with this kind of market-minded mindset of saying, will this thing sell? It makes sense if you are a studio. If you're already kind of a commercial level developer and you know that you can make things that people will buy, then you can start off with that mindset. That's like a kind of marketing mix mindset that they use in business where you think about the product, how you're going to promote it, all of that kind of stuff. But if you are a solo developer who is at the moment a hobbyist and hasn't sold any games before, then your project's either going to be a hobbyist project to learn a new skill or to learn a set of skills that you don't have and you want to have those skills, or a commercial project that is based on skills that you know you have, right? And I do think that sort of starting with the market and trying to work backwards from that is not a good way to make a game that will do well, because you have to be kind of honest with yourself about your skill set. So if you take the idea of, if you imagine, think about music for a second instead of games. Imagine being in a band and you play the saxophone. You play the saxophone really well and you've played jazz for years or something like that. And you just suddenly find out that heavy metal musicians make a lot more than jazz musicians. This analogy is already factually very incorrect, but let's just bear with me a minute. So you go, okay, I want to make heavy metal music instead. Now, you could probably jump into a heavy metal band with your jazz instrument and make some kind of fusion thing that's really cool, right? But it really depends on finding people that can already play heavy metal, people that can already play the drums, do the double bass, do all of that kind of stuff. And then you just add the saxophone, and hopefully people really like your new jazz metal fusion that you've made. But if you were to say, I'm going to learn to play metal guitar, I'm going to learn to play metal drums, I'm going to do it all myself, and I'm going to transition from being a jazz musician to a metal musician, that would be very, very difficult and probably take you like I don't know, a few years at least to get up to the standard of the people who are already making heavy metal music and making money in that genre, right? So when you take the kind of market first view of things, you still have to kind of backtrack from that and work out what you're good at. And if you're still on your first couple of games, you're still going to be going through that process of like working out what am I good at, what am I not good at, you know, am I able to make games and iterate quicker if I work in 2D versus 3D, if I work on, I don't know, action games versus turn-based games. All of these types of questions are the questions that you really need to ask yourself, rather than like, do people like this type of game and will they buy it, right? I think there is an audience for every type of game. And I think where the kind of marketing first idea of game development really falls down is if you take genres where there's a lot of slop, right? People take that as evidence that people don't want that genre, right? So 2D pixel art platformers would be an example of that. Oh, not another 2D pixel art platformer. They're always really bad. And it's like, that is looking at what's on Steam and what percentage of it sells, but it doesn't take into account the developer first perspective of, well, there are just lots of those games because that's the first thing people make, right? Or there are lots of those games because there is a template for that on GameMaker or Unity, and people start from that and hack it, and the people who start from a template inevitably make like more amateurish games, right? So I hope that's helpful to you. And if you're totally new to the channel, then I'm sorry I'm not being like, follow your dreams, do whatever the hell you want. But I think that the realistic approach is always to kind of think of what stage are you in? And if you've only just started using a game engine in the last 2 years or something like that, then thinking from a kind of commercial viewpoint first of what will people buy, what can I sell, is not really realistic, in my mind at least. And I might just be more pessimistic than other people, but I'm also not here to sell people dreams, you know. Hi, Frederick. What's the next game? Oh, the Squid game. We're going to play the Squid game that's not actually Squid Game. It's called Don't Eat Squid Babies. Just got to get past Windows Defender. Now it's trying to run on the wrong window. That's good. That's a good start. On the wrong screen. I might end up playing it in the browser because it's opening in Unity on the other screen and then closing immediately. So let's run it in the browser if it will work. Don't eat squid babies because Mama Squid will get angry. I think that's gonna be the message of this game. Please work. This looked really cool. There we go. So far, getting a lot of Sunless Sea vibes. Yeah, you can totally start from the game you want, but I would say, yeah, if you have an animator friend, I said that weird. If you have an animator friend, then you're definitely set up better for that project. If you're just a programmer and you don't have an animation friend, then it's not a great project because those type of games are so dependent on fluidity. Everyone is going to give you different advice based on their background. You know, marketing people will start from marketing is really important. Design people will start from design is really important. I'm a sort of design and general creative practice person, so I will talk about, you know, design and art direction and how you need to do those things. That's alright. I'm just going to pretend that it's supposed to be in a language I can't read. Here's our little guys up here. These are great. Look at them. Just do full screen for a bit. I mean, we got the gist of the story from the itch page as well, so don't worry too much about the translation. Select the sailor with left. You can make them walk around. So we've got sort of miniature, almost RTS controls. So we click on the sailors and right click to get them to go and work on a different part of the ship. We can zoom in and out with the scroll. Pivot the camera around. There's our captain. So the moment it feels sort of like a kind of worker placement game, like This Is the Police or something, but with a kind of nautical survival horror vibe. That's cool. These guys have got a lot of character. Number of fish. If it reaches the maximum, the episode ends with your victory. Okay. So I need 3 of my guys to fish. I only seem to need 2 to finish the catch. So once we've done the netting, I'm going to have 1 guy free to roam around and hopefully he's going to have something to do. See? So we've only got 2 jobs to do now, which is this and this. So this guy is now free to roam around. I really like the way that the camera is implemented in this. It's like you can't move the camera around with WASD. It just pivots around the center of the ship. I really like that focus. It's neat. It's a little bit awkward, but it's good for the... I think it's good for the game. Sometimes there are holes in the ship. They can be patched to regain some of their strength. Only a sailor with planks in their hand can repair a breach. Select the sailor and RMB on the boards to pick them up. Okay. The ship's strength drops to 0. You will die. Okay, so this guy's going to pick up some planks here. And then go and fix this. And that means these can go and work on the hull. Trying to work out if this timer is the same for like... Is this for the whole haul or... Yeah, okay. That's like 1 timer. Oh. Here we go. Now we're getting into Sea of Thieves type ship maintenance stuff. No worries, Decker. Sleep well. This is cool. I really like, you know, I love FTL and I like Sea of Thieves, but my desire to play those games in multiplayer is very, very low. So this is giving me some of the Sea of Thieves stuff without having to play an online game where people might yell at me for being bad at it. Which is not fun. Got all these fishies. Right, we've got... So if he goes and... his hands are full, so he can't put the wood down, but that's fine, because he's just going to be our mechanic, I guess. Okay, who's tired? How do I know who's tired? There's this bar is... If this is a bar, it's very difficult to make out. The black and white really is going to need some, like... this is very visible up at the top, but I can't see where the tiredness stuff is, and I'm not sure if it's meant to be like the corner of this. But if so, that is very grey on grey. It's going to need a lot higher contrast for the bits where we're supposed to be able to see an interface thing. Oh, did I see something come out of the water over there? Is this a whale? Hello, whale. Yeah, I mean, the last game was literally in a lighthouse. If you mashed that up with this game, you would totally get the lighthouse video game. We haven't caught any lobster here yet, though. Might as well put someone in the cabin for a bit. Sometimes something gets caught in the net. Hurry up and get it before it falls off. Sailors with special skills. The specialist performs technical work better. Okay. So the shirtless guy is our strong guy. That's why he's shirtless. There's a lot of lovely little design features here. Really, really nice. They've all got specialisms. Feels very much like a kind of timed worker placement game. From what we've seen so far. Hang on, I just need to, 1 second. Let me just improve stream immersion. That's better. Right, can I get this guy out of his bunk now? Yeah. Please help us out. I'm not sure what that means. So I've got 2 technical guys, I think, and 1 strong guy. We've still got a fish, guys. You can't just hang out on the deck. Right. This guy's got boards. You go and fish with Mr. Strong Guy. Drive the gulls so they do not steal your fish. Yeah, this is really giving the kind of FTL Space Team overwhelm thing that those games do so well. Look, big eyeball, big eyeball. Uh-oh. I don't know, seems bad. I think this does a good job of, like, the tension created by all the music and too many things going on is very high, but the difficulty isn't actually so high that you can't process it and do it all, you know? It feels very well balanced as a kind of starting section of a game, because it is quite overwhelming to have all these things to do. But I'm not... Oh, that guy's caught. He's stuck. He's stuck. What are you doing? Go and fix that. Right. Someone needs some boards. Does anyone have any boards? Anyone have any boards? Where are the boards? See, I've got a problem now because, like, earlier I had one guy pick up boards and then I was able to fix all of the different... Right, he's going to bed. The ship is sinking, but that guy's going to go to bed. Right, the problem is, I can't find anywhere to pick up more boards from, and I don't know if that's a bug or if I'm just... Because everything else has had a very clear marker, and I don't know if it was just because it was the tutorial that it showed me where the boards are. I can't tell if it's like a bug that's made it not spawn more boards or something. This is cool though. I really, really like this. It's a type of game I generally like. Like, managing a small set of people under stressful conditions is maybe one of my favourite types of game. But I definitely need more boards, and I don't know how to get them. Uh-oh. Guys. Guys. Anyone know where the boards are? Oh. What did I just do? Right, I'm going to go back again. We're going to try again. Yeah, Frederick in the chat said the UI bars are a little bit confusing in terms of what's lit up and what's darkened. Yeah, the ship should be... So basically, you want the association bright is good and dark is bad up here. And they are inverted. So the ship should be white to show that the ship is at full health. And as the ship gets broken, it gets darker. That's just how most people would associate the light and dark, because, and it's not even a like light is good, dark is bad thing. It's a visual thing of like the white reads as like pieces of a pie or something, and the black reads as an absence of that. And if you try and do it the other way, it's not gonna read in a way that makes sense, and that's more like a visual thing of like how we perceive a thing on a thing, right? And then the fish would be the opposite, because we haven't caught any fish yet, so this would be dark and then it gets filled up. Right, there are boards there for when I need them. And that's what boards look like when they're on the ground. They're kind of a hovering object. So maybe the game just didn't spawn them when it needed to earlier, or maybe I need to trigger something to get more boards. I'm not sure. The sort of toy factor of how you're able to move the camera around when there's nothing else to do in this game is really, really strong. Look at how he runs. He's ready to go. Ah, you can catch boards in the ocean sometimes. That's good. Can you put them down, though? Like, can I put them... Because this guy's sort of stuck in board mode. And, like, this is the problem I had last time. I can't get him to drop the boards and get back to fishing. So once I've got someone fixing, they're sort of stuck as the repair guy for the rest of the game. Ah, there we go. I needed to right-click them. There we go. That's better. That's what we need. Ah, he's steering us away from the... I see. That's what that mountain is. It's like there's an iceberg. This guy needs to steer you away. Yeah, it's so many of the things you have to do in Sea of Thieves just simplified so that one person can do them with multiple characters. I really, really like that. I think the zooming in and out with the mouse wheel is quite crucial to be able to do it a bit faster. And I'm finding it a little bit slow. We've got some more wood there. But they disappeared. Maybe it was because I put the other wood down and it decided there can only be one. Right, once you get to the point where you're kind of at this stage and one person can keep coming in and out of fishing while the other two do the fishing, it starts to get really quite satisfying, right? This guy's going to go and be the repairman for a bit. Because I feel like spreading that job out is going to make... Is he sluggish because he's tired? I can't tell. I'm going to put him to bed because there's nothing else to fix. What is that? Look at that. Bit of Gordon Ramsay then. What is that? Right, someone needs to fix that. You can stop doing that job for a minute and you can go and do that while your mate sleeps. Go on. This guy's at his limit. He's crawling. He's doing his interpretive dance based on the new metal classic Crawlin' by Linkin Park. These guys seriously need to make sure they're in a union. Hi Vim, yeah, the streams will stay up. I chop them down sometimes and I put little videos up of key parts, but the streams will stay up later on. There might be some ads. I don't put the live ads on because I think they're annoying. I mean, all ads are annoying, right? But ads that I have to know when they're coming up in the stream. No. Absolutely not. Not doing that. Right, we've got some bonus fish. Excuse me, you. Go and get those bonus fish. I think they're starting to... These guys are starting to get tired. It's getting really slow, some of the things. I'm going to wake him up. This guy's going to do... Oh. Right. I was concentrating so hard on trying to get stuff fixed that I did not see... I did not see the thing coming in, the big obstacle. That's great. Good example of the kind of failure that feels fun. It's a really hard thing to do, to make failing in your game feel fun. I think if that had been like a total immediate wipeout, like everyone on your ship dies because you crashed, it would not have been fun. But because it was just partial, not so bad. Right, you go and steer the ship. Yeah, again, the zooming out just a little bit slow. You go and have a nap. We'll handle this giant eyeball. Thanks. We'll handle this giant eyeball situation. Yeah, I think the this kind of situation where you don't have any wood left and you don't have a way of deliberately getting it for yourself feels like a bit of a soft lock that I would try and find a way to avoid. Because the game, apart from that, is really, really cool. I like this. I feel like this works very, very well as a stream game. It's just complex enough that you can play it and talk along. There's a lot going on. The mood and the sort of setting is really, really cool. I'd definitely try and avoid that soft lock situation where you don't have any wood and you're just sort of waiting for it to come along. Because I'm back in that now, and it's it sort of feels like a failure that the player has no part in, you know? Right, we got some wood there. This guy needs to rest, and we need to fix the ship. Oh, the wood, has the wood fallen overboard? See, that's even more punishing, right? So we're waiting to randomly get wood, and then when it's on the edge there, it can kind of disappear as well. And it's sort of, again, sort of unclear whether that's intentional or not. I guess it is. But it's not, when the wood's there, it's not communicated as a, like, hurry up and get this wood because it's going to fall in, right? It just disappears. And that feels pretty bad. Is this a dredge like? I think mood-wise, yeah. Right, guys, keep your eyes open for wood. Because we've got 25% health left on the old hull. Yeah, I don't seem to be able to see how tired the guys are before they just... I think you kind of have to observe them and like which animation they use for walking and stuff. It's very hard to tell how tired they are ahead of time. Right. Go and get that wood before it falls back in, please. This guy can come out of his sleepy nap times. There we go. Fix some stuff, please, so we don't die. This guy's very sleepy tired. Right, you leave those on the floor and go to bed. And you pick them up and do some fixing. I think we're sinking. Yeah. You dead! We dead. That's cool. I like that. I think the biggest sticking point for me is that when the lumber runs out and you're just sort of waiting for it to pop up. Feels like a bad lack of control. But really nice there. A bunch of things that could be communicated better. It's hard to tell when your guys are getting tired. And you can sort of see by looking at them, but you have to play the game for quite a long time before you start to be able to recognize that you're looking for them being kind of sluggish and stuff. And the thing is, when you've got those portraits in the top right, if you're going to have them there, then I would sort of expect them to be an interface element that gives me a readout on their status, right? Because that's what we do in games like this. If we've got a character in the game world and they've got an icon, then any status that is relevant to gameplay for the character would generally be up on the icon. And I know it's easy to say, well, it's like a horror game, it's immersive, we don't want to do that. And if that's the case, then that's fine, that's a design decision. But in that case, I would take the icons away. Because people are going to look at the icons and say, why isn't it telling me when they're sleepy? Which is what I was doing there. Because it's like, it's using a design, an interface design standard from things like top-down tactical games and RPGs, where if there are things like debuffs, you expect them to be represented on the icon. So either when they're tired, put a little ZZZ by them up there, or you know, have some clear bar for them for their tiredness. And if you're not going to use those icons to represent anything about the status of the characters, then just take them away and declutter the screen. I think you need to go either way with that. But that's cool. I really, really like that. Very moody and very, very fun to kind of try and juggle all those things. I appreciate that one. Let's have a look to see what the last one was. We've played Beacon's Edge. We've played Don't Eat Squid Babies. And I just need to find the last one on the list. 1 second. I had it open and then everything got closed down. The last one is the Canterbury Sales, which I thought I downloaded, but maybe it's only on a web. I'm noir because the last game was in black and white, so I thought I'd make myself match the game. Yeah, I think that there's a thing about like how you balance a game, right? When it's whether it's a single player versus computer game or a cooperative game. I think if your theme is very dark and brooding, then you can kind of get away with it needing like 10 tries to beat. I quite liked the difficulty in that. I wouldn't be upset if the game took a lot of times to get to the point where you can kind of beat it purely because it's got that dark horror kind of thing. I would rather the moment-to-moment activity of playing the game was easier, like the general UX of it and the issue with the wood, and completing the whole thing was very, very difficult. That would be a balance that would work fine for me because of everything that the aesthetic and the music is telling me is that this is supposed to be a hard game, you know? Here we go. So this is one that was made as like a pre-jam game, I guess. Like before we did Collab Jam last month, the developer of this one said they kind of made it as a little warm-up. Don't know whether this one is actually going to be spooky or not, but the fact that it said that the paintings were inspired by Goya made me think maybe it's going to be. So let's take a look. Like a trading art auctioning game. Oh, look, lovely. Let's just check whether there's anything that I should pay attention to on the game page before. Okay. I've got 4 customers. This is my day. And these are weights that do stuff. Ah, okay. I've got coins as well. This is just a kind of classic, game jam problem where you have a really neat game, but it kind of can't teach itself because you don't have enough time to, like, put all the stuff in that would teach you how to play the game. Look, everything about this is really delightful. And look, you can knock a coin off with the other coins. That's really good. But I don't have a sense of how I'm supposed to play the game. Brunhild, how's it going? I kind of want to restart this because I feel like I already broke it. So I press next customer, the customer appears. This is stuff they're offering. And I have to balance it, I guess? But I can take their money and put it on my side. Oh no, it's locked to their side. That makes sense. So they're offering these things which are like coins that are generic value, and then these things of different value over here. And they're coming in with stuff, and then I've got to balance it with these, which seems like it could be quite a cool mechanic. So I've got to work out what of their stuff I want, basically. And I guess in a bigger game, these could be more representative of real objects, but they've gone for like abstracting them out into tokens that are like magic and nature and swords. Okay, I'm going to be the swords guy. I'm going to buy all your swords. You give me 2 kilograms worth of swords. And I'll give you 2 kilograms of gold coins, which is probably quite a lot of gold coins. Okay. That's a neat mechanic. This is a very neat sort of like, well, it's an interface rather than the mechanic, but I like it. It feels very nice to play around with and to tinker with. You'd need a lot to make this work as a game, but you can kind of see where it's going. I'm low on coins, so I'm gonna... But she doesn't have many, so I'm gonna try and just... I'm gonna try and get to a point where I've got 3 of all of these things, so that then I am in a decent place to trade for coins. So that weighs 1.2. How much does that weigh? Are they able to deny your deals? Yeah, there's not an explanation of this on the itch page. Although I think I've already kind of got it. I'm not really sure what your goal is in this game, but I can kind of at least set my own, which is what I would do if I was playtesting a game like this and it was like my own game. I would have a sense of like, okay, eventually I want this game to have goals, but as a player, what are the goals I can set myself? And then later on I would formalize those goals. So I might say, okay, I'm going to try and get 10 red tokens. And then I'll just try and do that. And then I'll be, okay, that felt fun to do. Let's make that an explicit goal in the game, right? That's kind of a workflow. Right, now we're starting to gets 1 kilogram for each collided object. So this is like a very heavy object, and it's got a lot of value to it, because if I own this and I put it on my side, which I can't at the moment because it belongs to Fishhead here. So if I put 2 objects down and then put that on top of it, it becomes really heavy. And I don't want that when I'm buying it, because it's just going to be too expensive. But if I buy it on its own, now I can use that to boost the cost of something on my side. I love, look, the way that these shelves work with the gravity of the objects is really nice as well. Is there a way I can zoom this in at all? Right. You're going to give me a green and some money. I'm going to give you a red. Does the weight change based on how much the other character values that thing? Is that what's going on here? Oh, fine. I'm losing something. I think actually having kg here as a weight thing is slightly misleading, because, okay, we are using weight, but we're using weight as a metaphor for value. So I would make this something else. I would make it like a crown or something, just because the weight is important. It's giving us like a physical metaphor for how valuable the two things are. But it's not actually representing the weight, because you can have something that's heavy and it's not anything to do with how valuable it is. And also, kilograms just don't feel very medieval. What's this? Landebert. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want that. So this is my last customer. This is like a kind of boss for the day, I guess. It's very fiddly, but it's a cool idea. There we go. Very weird visitors, yeah. This is where we're getting our kind of Goya, kind of Hieronymus Bosch type thing with these guys. Trying to make this a bit bigger. Yeah, I'll make myself medieval as well. One second. How about some nice, you know, I just want to look like an old tapestry. Can't make it work. Sorry. They came back the next day. I've got a loyal customer. Right. Why is all your stuff so heavy? Is that just your vibe? Okay, I need to kind of try and memorize the weight of these things. So green, 0.5. Blue is 4. And red is 1. Okay. Trying to be a bit stingier today. I feel like I gave away too much yesterday. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Who's next? Whoa! Look at this guy. Sign Siege. Look, listen. I appreciate that you bring me all of these lovely tokens. But I can't afford all of them. So how about I give you all my blue stuff. And you give me both your red things. And the green thing. That's near enough, isn't it? That'll do. Yeah, I think banish is just when you don't want to do a deal with them. Each custom has different weights for stuff. Interesting. I banished the previous guy instead of striking. I didn't realise I'd clicked on that. So does that mean if I test the weights of these, they'll be different? Okay, yeah, 1.75. Okay. It would be good if we had, like, some sort of visual tell on them to know what their weighting of these would be, you know? Just, if they got a big sword, then they like big swords. It'd be that kind of thing. Right, So it is a kind of buy low, sell high type deal. There's just quite a lot of steps of puzzle to get to the point where you sort of understand what that is. So I'm going to buy your blue ones because that's the thing that you're doing cheapish. So we're trying to balance what we need in our inventory with the value stuff that the character is bringing to the table. And now we have a sense of like what a high and a low amount for something is. I think the gold is always a kilo, but I'm not sure. So 2.5 on the red, 1 on the blue. That's cheap. 1.5 on the... Okay. So I'm going to sell you 2 of the sword tokens and then try and get as many of your coins and other things out of that as possible. That's it. That's how the game works. That makes sense. Okay, so if I add that on, it goes up to 3.5. If I add a blue on, it goes up to 4.5. Maybe I should take one of these coins off and add another blue because it's 1.5 and the coins are... Oh, okay. Do I risk running out of stock of that just to get 2 more coins? I think I will, actually. Oh. 3 more coins. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, this is cool. Art style's great. They do a little face when they're happy with the deal as well. Ah, Monsieur Heron. I see you've come with lots of lovely nature tokens. You're selling them for 2.5. Well, I'm mostly in need of red tokens, and you're selling them cheap. So let's see what you can. This isn't a great deal on my end, but maybe we can balance it out a little bit with a little bit of jingle. Next customer, please. Ah, it's Isa. What I want to know is, are you the... Or... Which of you should I be speaking to in this transaction? Who's in charge here? This is a very good boss mechanic, how this works. It's come to weigh my soul. See, this could have just been a toy, this game, but the fact it's got that little test at the end of each day of like, have you made enough money? It kind of gives it some long-term bite of what you're trying to do here. Ah, Moleva. Okay, you look. I can't afford that, and I don't have any to sell you. She doesn't like swords at all. They're of no value to her. So I'm just going to sell you one of my blue things. Oh, not a good deal. Hi, Lothar. How's it going? Okay. I think we can come to a deal. 20% more weight. That's a good little trinket. No. How about... You... Oh, no, you're gonna buy me out of house and home like that. So, sorry, but I'm just gonna have to take all your other stuff, I think. Fine. I'll go with 1 green and a coin. Hi, Egelfrieda. So this pearl, it gets less worthy for each collided item. So I could buy this off her and drive the price down of it. Maybe. The problem is, her red tokens are really expensive. So there's not much for me to make it collide with on her side if I want to buy it, so... She doesn't value gold very much. Nope, sorry. I can't come to a deal with you today. Ah. Ecthigan. My favourite customer. Does not value gold at all. It's really interesting how this little, like, having an economy and then having the value of things attached to different characters changing kind of tells the story. This guy, he's like a troll from the Trollwood, and he just does not value money at all. And the last person was like a lady from a royal court or something, and she didn't value money that much. Okay, I don't have much I can do for you really. I can give you one of those and give you a green thing, but I don't think you're going to be interested in that because you've already got one. I can't trade with you. I'm going to have to banish you. I'm sorry. What have you got for me? I've had a terrible day, Valdemar. Don't know about you. Okay, money is worth a lot to this one. So you always need a varied inventory to be able to deal with every kind of customer. That's sort of the way that this is weighted. We're at the end of the day, so I think I'm going to die on the next one, if you can call it that. Be fired. Maybe I'll just go all in. Just go all in. Really interesting combination of like evaluation, gambling, and this weird physics stuff of items colliding in particular ways. Oh, you want 18 kilos worth of stuff? I don't think I can do that at all. But even with my 20% weight boost from that thing. I'm sorry, Geralt. I'm not really sure what this means, but I think he's come to eat my soul. It's got that kind of vibe to him. That's cool. I'm going to give it one more run. And then I think we're done for today. Now that I understand how it all works, right. Hi. How's it going? What do you value? Is this guy the same as the last guy? Yeah, so the trolls never value gold. And I probably do want to get that. I want to get some cheap stuff off him. And And I want to buy that off him without it colliding on anything, so it doesn't... So if I put that on that, it will be heavier. Oh no, it doesn't say it's heavier. Yeah, so stuff that goes on top of that is heavier. So I want to keep those apart when I'm buying it. Maybe we can try and balance this out a little bit more. But I'd be swapping a blue for a blue, so that doesn't really help. How about that? I don't know if that was a good deal. I'm not sure. Those are worth 1. I mean, I need those because I don't have any. And then you're doing those for 1.5. Those for 2.5. How much is gold worth to you? Okay. What if I sell you 2 of those? Yeah, that'll do. Strangely meditative game. Helvetia. 1.5 on those. 1.2 on those. Those are quite cheap. Okay. I reckon this might be a give me everything you've got kind of scenario. Except that one's stuck. There we go. Oh. That's pretty good. The first time I've been able to use one of these collision-based boosts properly. But the fact that I've had to like play it through once, kind of get it during that playtime, and then come back and now I can kind of apply the stuff that I've learned, makes it feel like there's definitely something here. A little bit confusing at first. But that's because it was made in a very short period of time and doesn't have any onboarding, really. It's just the game. It's the game. Did the bird just drop me a coin then? I think we did much better that time. But they do get harder later on. Hello, fish face. Adds 5 in only one, if only one item touches it. So it's like a presentation cushion. There we go. That's good. I'll go for that. See, he's got stars on him and he wanted the magic thing. So maybe there is a bit of a clue. So, lady doesn't value money that much. Values the nature one quite highly. So I can pay that and get these back, I guess. That's not great, but it'll do for now. Oh, I just used my cushion up. It was resting on there and I hadn't taken it off. That's annoying. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, that sucks. I wanted to use that as well. Right, this guy really wants the green. He comes in with a load of green tokens, but they're priced quite high, so he's really for you to sell green tokens to. I don't have that many. I guess I should go for the thing I don't have, really. Old Bouchard. Be really helpful if I had some sort of magical pillow right now, wouldn't it? Ooh. That was a skin of the teeth type scenario. Right, 1 for reds, 2 for greens. You're doing greens for cheap. How much is a red worth to you? Reds are worth nothing to you. You're doing reds really cheap. Okay. How much is a coin worth to you? I'm gonna try and turn all my coins and just get all of those red tokens off you. That wasn't ideal, but... What is the cheapest thing that you've got? It's going to be the blue tokens, isn't it? Yeah, okay, so give me a cushion with 1 blue token on. I don't think I'm getting a good deal here, guys. The thing is, you can always undersell your thing. You can always give them something for like slightly less than, or slightly more than it's worth or whatever. But you can't do it the other way. So you're always getting screwed. So, give me all your stuff. You say I can buy the pillow when it's not touching anything, but I tried that before, and when I put it on the thing, it didn't come up with do a deal, which is why I didn't buy it on its own for nothing, because I would have done that. Oh yeah, you can put the thing next to it and buy it. Ah, it got me. It got me. Okay, that makes sense. That's what I did the first time, and then I misremembered how it worked. This is really cool. I like this. How is that 20%? Oh, it's the value of the basic object as well. That's so hard. Oh, Balgul. I hate you. Half. Well, you got half. 9 out of the 18 needed. We need the... This is when you need the Darkest Dungeon voice, really.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
Howdy, Neek. This was cool. This has full game potential. I think this is a jam game. Art style's really cool. And I could see, if you extended this into a much longer game, I could see how you could start with, you know, a big variety of customers who were regular people, regular medieval people, and then bring the stranger ones in over time. I think the tokens feel too abstract for a bigger game. I think you would need to have them in those categories of like red combat things, blue magic things, and green nature things, whatever those are supposed to represent. You would have to have the categories. I think you would have to have a diversity of what the objects are for it to work as a bigger game. And that could really complicate things, but I could also see if you were trying to build this quickly, using the tokens makes sense, because instead of having lots of things in a category, you just have a token that represents the category, and then that's it. But this was really cool. Really, really like this. The music is a very strange choice. It's like jazz, medieval, sort of sounds like a Kilimanjaro dark jazz ensemble or something like that over over this spooky medieval thing. But yeah, I made some real fluffs with this one. It's very easy to like miss something. So I had a situation where I'd bought the pillow, and I hadn't really looked to see it was on my scales over here because it kind of fallen down and landed on them. So I was only thinking about what I had manually put on the scales, and the pillow was just sort of there, and I ended up selling it. And then I bought the pillow for way more than it was worth because I kind of loaded it up on that side. There's loads of ways you can kind of screw yourself over here, but they generally felt quite fun and big into the fun types of failure, I guess. Thank you all for joining today. We only did 3 games today. I normally do 4 in this stream, but I had a fair bit of fun with each of them. So the first one was called Beacon's Edge. That was the Lighthouse game. There's links to any of these that have public versions. There'll be links in the description. Yeah, Beacon's Edge, sort of a Crank inspired, incremental, atmospheric game about working in a lighthouse. Then we had, what was it called? Don't Eat Squid Babies, which was the one that looked like the film The Lighthouse. And then this, Canterbury Sails. I think all of those have... those are all games that have potential to be expanded and polished in certain ways. Had an interesting time with each of them. And definitely games that benefited from having a little bit more time, from having the 4th game drop out. So thank you all very much for joining. As usual, if you want to submit your game to Indies Under the Knife, submissions go to indiegameclinic.com. There's a contact section. There is a section on there that says this is the form for Indies Under the Knife, and that is how you submit your game, is you use that form there. You do not email me your game and say please play my game on a stream, because I will delete that email. Partly because I cannot handle submissions that way. I need them to go into my spreadsheet, which is how my form, what my form does, is put them in a spreadsheet for me. And emailing them also just shows that you haven't really watched the channel or the streams, which is a good way to rub someone up the wrong way if you're asking them to do something for you, is to just ignore the instructions and do whatever you want instead of what they've said. And that's a thing that applies generally to most sort of things, where there's like a competition or something you can apply for to get a opportunity of some sort. Like the first test is, did you follow the instructions? And if you didn't follow the instructions, it needs to be for a very good reason. And so yeah, I receive a lot of emails where they just look like Proforma, Scattergun, we've sent this out to 10 people, and I don't play games sent to me like that, because it is generally assumed that, you know, when you're sending stuff out like that, you just want kind of positive feedback, and that's not what this show is for. Although I didn't really have a lot of critical stuff to say about these 3 games, apart from little UX tweaks that I would make to make the games run a bit smoother in terms of, you know, ease of understanding and stuff. But yeah, thanks for joining. I will catch up with you again next week